Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to a very special show today. It is the Water Trio. My dear friends, Cassandra and Alicia are here with me, and we have a very, very special guest, Chris Turner, an Australian astrologer who has really led the way for astrology in Australia and was really instrumental in helping particularly Cass and I get our starts in Sydney. Welcome, Chris. It's so great to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you. And as I said to you just before we started recording, hi, kids. I feel like I'm saying hello to my grandchildren here.
Chris is a little more mature than us.
Just a
Not
tad.
much.
But Chris, you're also a sun in a water sign, so you fit our water vibe.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm comfy.
Yes, she's
We're
happy.
the water quattro tonight.
And we have Chris here today to tell us about a really special online astrology event coming up in November. So Chris, do you want to give us a little heads up about what's happening and when?
Well, we're doing the number 5, Breaking Down the Borders conference, which goes for 3 days. It's the biggest online conference that you can have. And in fact, in the last 10 years, it is sort of slotted in to the big ones, you know, well, I like to say UAC. It's the UAC of the cyber conferences, let's put it that way, because we have 60 speakers over that 3 days. And, you know, they come from everywhere. I think I counted up the other day, it's something like 10 or 11 countries, every continent. You know, they're really every nationality, something for everybody, every age. You know, we really try to cater for everyone.
That is a huge speaker lineup, 60 speakers. Wow.
Tell me about it.
That was some of the feedback I'd got when I started telling people about this conference, was just how diverse the range of speakers are, from where they're from, the kinds of astrology that they practice. So truly is something for everybody here, isn't there?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we got, you name the kind of astrology, from Vedic to, you know, really complex philosophical stuff, to classic, of course, and the straight out humanistic. You know, we even had one, which unfortunately she had to pull out because of health reasons. We even had one about dogs.
Oh, wow.
You know, yeah. So, but she had to pull out, sadly. But yeah, I mean, you name it, you'll find something there, you know. And even there's a couple of lectures I've noticed that they look similar, you know, like I think there's two lectures on Lilith, but they're actually quite different. You know, they come from a totally different approach. So, so yeah, I mean, you name the subject, I'm sure it's there.
I love it.
So you're breaking down the borders, not just internationally, but also within astrology itself. It's like crossing everything. It's a whole pool to draw from.
Yeah, that's how I like to see it. I mean, I think, to my mind, astrology is becoming more and more specialized. You know, these days people have their specialties, and I mean, those of us, you know, the still the Pluto in Leo generation, you know, when we came into astrology, we had to do everything. You know, we had to do our own research. We were drawing up charts by hand, for God's sake. Who does that these days? It was, and not only that, but we were using logs, not even calculators. I mean, that's how far back this goes. But I found that as people become more technological, they're becoming more and more specialized. You know, there are people who never do any humanistic astrology anymore. There are people who don't do any classical astrology or any horary, or, you know, people are very specializing. And I think that the other thing there that ties in with that is that we are actually a very small community, relatively speaking. We all know everybody, even if we don't know them personally. Like, it's the first time I've met you tonight, Alicia, but I've certainly known of you. You know, there's no doubt about that. And I think that we need to recognize the diversity of that astrology and how they can interweave. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, so So that's what we tried to do. And originally, the whole borders was set up because here in Australia, as the three of you know, and also in places like Canada, and even places like South Africa and New Zealand, if you want to learn astrology, very often you live in a remote area where there is absolutely no chance to go and even learn astrology, let alone be able to afford to go to a conference, even in Australia. I mean, you know, we know many people, even when the conferences are held in Sydney and Melbourne or Brisbane, look at how often the Western Australians say, oh, we can't afford to go over there. So that was the whole thing, that we know we need to have an area where everybody can go and it is affordable. Now, I know $40 a lecture, which is a lot of money these days, especially the way people are doing their cyber conferences. And for God's sake, interrupt me if you want to ask me a question, because you know what I'm like. It's not really expensive because you're not paying for a whole conference. You are paying only for what you want to hear, for nothing else.
Yeah, so you can do a la carte.
Yeah, there's no hidden costs. There's no sign up for this or sign up for that. It's straight out. You pay your $40. You either go to the lecture, or if it's a lecture that's on at 3 a.m. in your local time, doesn't matter. You will get a recording of it because you've registered.
And Chris, just on the recording question, because I know that's a big question people have with online conferences these days. Is it an online or, an audio or a video recording? And do they get to keep the recording?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's theirs.
Okay. So they get to download and keep their recording.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you don't miss out. Nobody misses out.
And so everybody gets the video recording. So the full display with all the slides and everything. Yeah, okay, everything. Fantastic.
Yeah. The only difference is that they can't ask a question live. But I have it from all my speakers that they are more than happy that if a question comes up, they just have to contact the speaker.
Fantastic.
You know, so it's still much the same. And on top of that, we also have what we call the foyer, which is, and I've noticed a few of the online conferences are starting to do this as well, but we've done it right from the start, because I know from conferences, you know, from live conferences, that one of the best parts of the conference is when you come out from a lecture and you meet up with your buddies who are at the coffee stand or whatever, and you say, that was fantastic, or, oh my God, that was boring. You know, one of the two. So we've called this place the foyer, and it's going to be open from around, I think it opens around 7 a.m. Australian time, which is about, I think about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be at that time, and it stays open until the last person goes home, which is usually around 7 o'clock our time.
Right.
So it's open for at least 12 hours, if not more. And again, every speaker has promised me they will go into the foyer and say hello to everyone.
That's fantastic. And if you're starting to get excited about this conference, the website address, I just want to drop that in there. We will link to it below, but it's astrologyconference.org. And Cass, I think you're going to be speaking at this event, right?
I will be. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. Waving the Aussie flag for us. So yeah, pretty happy about that.
And what's the topic of yours? Yeah.
What's my topic? You have to say, Cass, because I can't remember.
It is about combining secondary progressions with transits, which is a question I get a lot from students, is trying to align the two techniques on top of each other. So this lecture is all about that. So hopefully that will give you the insight that you need to do what you need to do with your own chart or the charts of other people.
Awesome.
So you're going to say something, Leash?
You know, I was just going to say, like, which other countries are going to be represented?
Yeah, good luck.
Which other countries are being represented? Because I think there's such a wide variety of nations involved.
I'm always terrified I'm going to leave somebody out. But the United States, obviously, okay? Australia, obviously. New Zealand, Singapore, South Africa, South America, Mexico, that's well, Mexico, not South America so much, but Mexico. Then in Europe, we've got the UK, Portugal, Poland, Russia, Turkey. I'm sure I've left somebody out. That's not enough. There's others in there too, but just trying
That's
to
pretty good for off the top of your head, Chris.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we were going to do, but unfortunately we've not, thanks to COVID, we've had to not do it. We were actually going to have a first, because one of the things actually that Borders is quite well known for is that we start things, we initialize things. And I mean, I like to think every time I go on the internet and I see so-and-so is now doing a weekend seminar or a conference or something, and I think, yeah, you wouldn't be doing that if we'd not started this, you know, way back in 2010. I get nice and smug. But we always try to introduce something new. And one of the things that we were going to do this time was what we call simulcasts. We had people, and if you go onto the conference site, you'll see that some of the times are a bit weird. And that's the reason, because we were actually going to simulcast from live seminars, especially in Europe and Turkey and Southeast Asia. We were going to do both. You could see it online, or if you lived in that country, you could go and see it live. But unfortunately, we've had to cancel that idea because, of course, of COVID. There's a couple, like we've got Jeanette Lewis-Hill from Western Australia, and of course they're fine there. They can do it there. They're not a problem. And I think in Singapore, May Sim in Singapore, she's doing a live one still. But the rest have had to say, no, don't think so. You know, it's a bit difficult.
Yeah.
But they're now part of the main conference, but we still left them speaking at their original times, which were very comfortable for them locally, so that people could come in. But again, if one of them interests you, you get the recording. It's that simple.
The recordings are such a great value add for online conferences, because I know for me, I love to hear something a couple of times because I find it helps the material sink in a little more. So it's great that that's being provided.
Oh, and by the way, you know, it doesn't, the way it sounds as though you only get it if you don't attend.
Oh no, everybody gets it. Everybody who registers, right?
If you register, you get a recording, whether you attend or whether you don't.
Yeah. And
I've been fine for me to have it to refer to. You know, you may look at a subject and then it's not for a couple of years later and you think, oh, I can't remember everything about that lecture. So to be able to go back, it's like having your own online reference library, a bit like that bookshelf behind you there, Chris.
Oh, yeah, well, that's not quite a reference library, but don't tell anybody. My reference library is up there and doesn't come on. I, ages ago, decided everybody has the regular, sorry, Cass, but everybody has the regulation bookshelf behind them. And you'll remember, Kel, last time I had a screen whenever I did the interview.
Yes.
A plain green wall. And this time I thought, to hell with it. Everybody knows I'm at home. And you can only actually see the bookshelf because it's usually covered by the door, because I've shut the dogs outside so that they do not contribute to the conversation. So,
which is smart.
We usually have cats in the podcast, so dogs would just change it up a bit.
Yeah, no, they can be a little bit louder than cats. You know, a cat walking across the keyboard is one thing, but a dog going is another.
So how, with the registration, Chris, obviously people can sign up right away at astrologyconference.org. I know I'm looking forward to hearing some speakers like Sam Reynolds, Nadia Shah, I think Jen Zart is speaking, Akuta Brava from Nightlight Astrology is going to be presenting. And of course, Aussie astrologers like Mark Lorenzen and Brian Clark will be presenting. Is there a deadline by which people have to register for the conference, so they could just sign up on, you know, the 4th or 5th or 6th of November and jump right in?
They can sign up 5 minutes before the lecture. That's fine.
Okay. Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. And it's November 6th to 8, right?
That's right. Although in Australia, of course, it's actually November 7 to 9.
To 9, of course. Time zone.
We're in the future.
We're from the future.
We're always
I
in the
have loved,
future, aren't we?
I have loved saying that to North American audiences. I know we're like upside down or at the bottom, but we're ahead of you because it's already tomorrow there.
Yeah.
We are the future. We are definitely the future. But no, I have to tell you that my brain is so scrambled from working out time zones, and even time zones I know very well. I've now got time zone changes thing up there, and now make sure get it right, because it's sloppy,
tricky.
with daylight saving, non-daylight saving, European times, American times, South African time. Oh, I tell you.
It's one of those little sidebars that you don't think about when you become an astrologer or you have a business that's online and involves working with people all around the globe. You don't sort of think, I'm actually going to need to become a time zone expert as part of this.
Absolutely. And
or be willing to wake up early.
Yeah. Well, I had to make a rule for myself this time because as I'm getting older, I can't adapt quite so much to time shifts, so I'd say to because doing the interviews, we've also got interviews with nearly all the speakers up on that site too, which are great fun. I loved yours, Cass. I thought it was terrific.
Thank you.
And you always look so good too. I get quite jealous, but there's no point in me being jealous at this age, really, is there?
Well, maybe you can take your revenge on me when I'm your age, and we'll just see what happens then.
From up there, you betcha. You watch out for me, I'll be there. But yeah, now I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, I know what I was going to say. And I've had to tell everybody, okay, I cannot do mornings. I normally don't do nights. But tonight I thought, no way am I missing this out. I wanted to see you three. I thought, no, I've got to be part of this. I wanted to be part of this for years. But normally, no, I stop at 6 and that's it. But that's concessions, I mean, the next borders I will not be organising. But of course, I am Cancer with a Taurus moon. It's not like I'm going to let it go and just walk away. That would be absolutely impossible. So I will be lurking in the background somewhere saying, no, you really shouldn't do it that way. That's not the right way to go about it. And then being told, oh God, yes, you're not going to get rid of me that easily. But
we know, Chris. We love that about you.
Yeah, well, I am actually officially retiring this year. So, at the end of the year. So that's great.
After how many years?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're like, she's never retiring.
20 years it's taken me. 20 years. I decided to retire 20 years ago. And I've not been allowed to, is the way I put it.
So how long would you say your astrological career is all up? Like from when you first started to the end of this year when you're going to properly retire?
Well, I was thinking about that earlier today, actually. And I mean, I've been interested in astrology all my life. I mean, even as a child, back in the 50s, I knew everybody's sun sign. But I had my first astrology lesson in, calculating a chart. I think it was in 1974. And by 1975, I was teaching astrology.
Oh my goodness. So that's more than 40 years.
That I would love to get back all those students and all those early clients and say, please, we start all over again. I know a little bit more now. And I think I opened the Chiron School of Astrology in 77. So,
great year that.
Yeah, so it was that when you were born.
Maybe.
Thank you, Cass. But yeah, no, I think, I became professional very quickly, only in the sense because people insisted on paying me.
Right.
So let's take it from, say, 75. So what's that? It's too late for me to do the maths. You guys work
about
it out.
42 years.
Sounds about right.
45.
Oh, is it? There you go. Don't trust my maths.
45.
No, only because it was when I was born.
Well, yeah, 75. Yeah, 45 years ago.
Now, Chris, speaking about like your history and starting out and everything, like there's a lot of people now starting out in astrology and, you know, see the likes of, you know, other people in the industry and like, I want to do what they're doing. And so, you know, we're really treasuring our Pluto and Leos as they're all retiring or bowing down. So what we want to know, yeah, of course we, you know, like got to validate you.
Absolutely.
So, no, but seriously, like if you could give like a, you know, Jupiter on the MC, you know, pearl of wisdom or a nugget of gold that you could hand down to some of the younger people coming through now, what would you tell them?
Listen.
Yeah.
In one word, listen. Listen to your clients, listen to your students, listen to your elders, definitely.
Of course.
Is that
awesome? You know, if I had to give one word, that would be it. I mean, there's lots of other things I could say, but that to me is the most important thing. And never, ever think you know it all, because you don't.
No.
Never. You just don't know it all. And even if you do know a lot, I can assure you that after 45 years, a lot of that is long gone out of your mind. I've listened to, and you know, Colleen Coffey from New Zealand, who's also speaking for us. She and I have been good friends for more than 30 years. And I remember we were having a little chat one afternoon, and I happened to say to her, you know, I listened to a recording of one of my lectures that I did in the early 80s, maybe late 70s. And I said to her, God, I was good. She said, yes. She said, I'm the same. And you really do. When I listened to what I did when I was younger, it was great. But of course, the older you get, the more complacent you get, and the harder it is to retain knowledge. But enough of that anyway. So listen, and don't think you know it all, because you don't, which you'll soon find out if you listen to everyone. And be open to ideas, open to thoughts, open to feelings, all that kind of thing.
Love it.
That's great
Awesome.
advice.
Thanks, Chris.
So, you know, I hope that, and can I say, before you suddenly say, well, we have to go, because I can see Cass's eyes beginning to glaze over a little bit there. Places to be.
I'm getting old myself now, Chris.
Look, you three have got your glasses on, and I haven't got mine on. Because
I can't see without mine.
Well, I can't see the computer with mine. See, there's another thing that happens. I can't see the computer with them. I'm hearing all the time. So they're coming off. And anyway, I look younger without my glasses. So what I was going to say is, can I say, and you two already know this, but I'm saying it for the record, I am so proud of you. You know, I'm proud of all the Aussies. As you said before, the ones that are appearing at the conference have all been so incredibly supportive. But you two have been phenomenal, and your success, I enjoy it. I'm always there. I'm lurking in the background. Don't forget that. Don't ever forget that. And I've watched the two of you grow and become so professional, and I don't mean that in terms of finances. I mean that in terms of your attitude, etc. And I am just so proud to have been associated with the two of you. And I will even eventually forgive your faux pas, Kelly.
Yes.
Not soon, but one day.
One day. And that was like my second ever talk, and I managed to insult half the audience by naming
only about four of us.
Only four. By naming a planet sign combination and saying, oh, I don't need to worry about that. There'll be no one here that has that, like indicating that it was so long ago, there'd be no one alive that still had it. And of course, there were people in the audience.
I think you actually said something like, they're all dead now.
They're all dead now. And then there were people in the audience that were like, no, we're not dead. So,
excuse me. And I promised her I would never let her forget it, and I'm not going to.
No, and you shouldn't. And when I gave one of my biggest speeches a couple of years ago, an opening keynote at a different conference, and I actually referenced that because I needed an icebreaker, and I've never forgotten how embarrassed I felt, and it's made me such a good fact checker going forward.
Well, it's actually a very good example of what I just said. Never think you know everything.
Yeah.
You don't.
100%.
I mean, I hate to tell you, but there are still a lot of Pluto in Cancer people
Yes.
going strong.
Yes.
You know, Ina Stanley, who runs the International Academy of Astrology, who's the board of sponsors, you know, she is 84 and has a
she's
Pluto
a force.
in Cancer. 84, and she still runs that school like a school mom.
She's phenomenal. I had the great luxury of meeting her a few years ago, I think at a social event or maybe at a conference in the US, and her energy, I was blown away by it.
She's more than I am. You know, she's got far more energy than I have, and I'm younger.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I know we do have a little bit of a time scheduled today, Chris, because we could talk with you for hours otherwise. But thank you so much for joining us and letting everyone know about the Breaking Down the Borders 5 conference. I just want to give that website again. The URL is astrologyconference.org, and it's happening November 6 to 8. Thanks again, Chris, for everything you've done, not just now in the present, but in the past for astrology.
Thank you, all three of you, and I'm so happy to have at last made it here, and I hope that at some point you'll have me back.
We would love to.
Love to.
I'd like that.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.